families, creating a lifetime of memories. Sadly, some families are denied these important moments due to the sad practice of alienation. These are families divided.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Families Divided TV. Helping a child establish and normalize two homes when parents no longer live together is difficult. Maintaining a relationship with a child who is exhibiting alienating behaviors and resisting and refusing contact adds a whole new dimension of difficulty. Research has shown that children exposed to the long-term stress associated with parental conflict and family dysfunction can affect children's functioning well into their adult years. Helping your child through these times is critical to their development and overall mental and physical health. In this short overview, we're going to hear from Chris Turner as she explores the interactions with our mild, moderately alienated child. Your child's future and the prevention of further damage is important. You can take steps to mitigate the effects of tactics and behaviors indicative of parental alienation, regardless of the other parent's actions. Chris Turner is co-founder of Resetting the Family, an organization dedicated to research and educational programs with families and children of high conflict relationships. We're going to hear from Chris Turner in just a moment. We're also going to be hearing from attorney Jordan Traeger. He's one of the presenters at our upcoming fall conference in October, and it's titled Alienation, the Truth Regarding the Trauma and the Abuse. I cannot emphasize to you how important this conference is for both professionals as well as alienated family members. There is going to be so much important information shared there, and I really hope that you'll join us. We also will be having other things happening during this event. It's a 2.5-day event. So we're going to be having a Friday night, a Saturday night as well. You can find out all this information on familyaccess.info. And we're already registering, and many have registered already, and we're so looking forward to it. So we're going to let you hear from Jordan Traeger and also Chris Turner right after these messages.
Divorce and co-parenting are a major life interruption for families, especially the kids, but also for parents and grandparents. And it's even worse in blame-filled, high-conflict cases. When parents engage in alienation by turning the kids against the other parent or grandparents, kids suffer. They're denied the opportunity to build the 4 big skills necessary for future resilience. New Ways for Families online class can help. Parents learn to use our popular BIF and EAR skills to calm the conflict and stop the hostile emails and texts. And we even have a class for kids and parents to learn together. Research shows a 75% improvement in joint parental decision-making after this course is taken, plus overall improvements for kids' well-being. Don't wait to make this affordable investment in your children's future and improve your well-being too. Start learning new ways for your family today at conflictplaybook.com.
Hi, my name is Jordan Traeger from Wisselman Harunian Family Law. I'm going to be doing a presentation on parental alienation cases from a legal perspective with a focus on abuse and trauma. So just a little bit about my presentation. It's going to be broken up basically into 2 parts. The first part is going to be focusing on parental alienation from a legal perspective. And then it will turn to the second part, which is the severe long-term psychological impact on children who are the victims of parental alienation, and specifically how to present that information to a court and to a judge to make the judge aware of the serious consequences of either inaction in a parental alienation case or failing to act with haste in a parental alienation case. So generally, from a legal perspective, I would be improving parental alienation. And by the way, I think the courts are starting to finally recognize parental alienation. The larger issue that I'm starting to encounter is the fact that they're unsure what to do about it. But some of the issues that I'll be presenting is direct and circumstantial proof of parental alienation from an evidentiary perspective. The court's approach to in-camera interviews, that's when a child and his or her attorney is seen by a judge in chambers. The role of the attorney for the child and the child's therapist, which is very important in a parental alienation case. How the courts weigh the best interest analysis in a parental alienation case specifically, as opposed to a general custody case, and how custody may or may not be determined in that type of case, and how and when the courts consider and use various remedies to alleviate the pernicious effects of parental alienation, specifically the use of no contact orders, reunification therapy, and something called team therapy. So specifically regarding the severe long-term psychological impact on children who are victims of parental alienation, my presentation is going to focus on the negative consequences, the negative outcomes, I should say, suffered by victims of parental alienation. And specifically, some of these outcomes, these negative outcomes, include children, and I'm just going to read this off very quickly, children suffering from, quote, a shorter lifespan, depression, anxiety, social withdrawal, aggression, acting out, low self-esteem, insecure attachments, substance abuse disorders, fears and phobias, the inability to trust themselves and others, poor academic performance, poor physical health, neurological damage, the inability to think critically, and developmental delays. Those are all possible negative outcomes due to parental alienation when the courts either do not act quickly enough or if they don't act at all. So I look forward to seeing you at the presentation, and thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Chris Turner, and I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about interacting with your child in the face of mild and moderate alienation. Many people call this resist, refuse. Different terminology, but we're talking about the same thing. When a parent has disassociated from their child because of child's behaviors or the interactions with the other parents, which cause them to be alienated or resist contact with that parent. Many of the things that we've done as part of my organization, which is Resetting the Family with Dr. Mary Alvarez, focus on early intervention and prevention. So we're going to speak today about the early signs of alienation, resist, refuse, and how they are a continuum or how they can be stopped in their tracks, right? So for parents that are beginning to see some of the behaviors and are very concerned about them, we're going to give you some tips about things that you can do in terms of interacting with your child to decrease the effect of what's going on and hopefully prevent it from coming to severe. And we'll talk a little bit more and more about that. Mild and moderate. Those mild alienation situations are those where the child comes to your house or has visits with you or has conversations with you, and there's some resistance at first, but they, within the course of maybe several hours or by the next morning, they're fine and they're fitting in and they're back to their normal self and they're interacting with you prior to any disruption in your relationship. Moderate, on the other hand, takes a little bit longer time, and you may see that child coming in and it might be ongoing through a weekend that they are resisting and refusing to do things. They're becoming very opposed to what you want to do. They're not including you in things, but there's still a relationship there, and you see glimpses. The And that is different from that severe level, which we're not going to be talking about today. When the severe level happens and that child has cut you off and wants nothing to do with you, perhaps calls you by your first name and does not refer to you as the other parent, is totally aligned with one parent. So let's focus on those mild and moderate and things that you can do while you're working with your child to help encourage that relationship. The first thing, be present with your child. And that goes without saying with any time that you are interacting together, but be present even when you are not together. So I often tell parents, make sure that child has pictures of you. Make sure that child has pictures in the room when they come to visit or when you're out together on your screensaver as a phone. The point is, a picture speaks 1,000 words. And you may have children who say to you, oh, we never really have fun together, or you just caught me smiling, but the camera was on. I wasn't really happy. It doesn't matter. The point is, don't defend yourself or prove yourself of what the picture shows. Having that constant reminder serves two purposes. It's there, it's in front of the child, so they will be remembering when that happened, when that picture was taken. The other thing is that research shows us that the brain mirrors, the mirror neurons in that child are still focusing on creating and empathizing with what that picture shows. So happy pictures show happy things, and that child's part of the brain lights up when they see those things. So you're having an effect on their brain as well when you're encouraging and remembering those pictures. And so I encourage you to keep those pictures in front of that child and be present in that way, as well as physically being present in terms of other activities you may participate in. So even when you're not with that child, make sure that child is aware of you and of the good things and the positive relationship that you've had, and pictures of things that you've done together or pictures with that child. Very important. Get back to the parenting basics. As a parent, you are constantly searching for ways to interact with your child. As a parent in a situation where you are separated from the other parent or divorced from the other parent, and possibly mild and moderate alienation is beginning, it's very important that you continue to be the parent and not let your guard down, not try to be your child's best friend. Remembering those forced choices, keeping abreast of where they are developmentally, because by the time you figure out what developmental stage a child is going through and you figured out how to parent in that stage, they've moved on to the next one. And so make sure that you're focusing on your parenting as well. Understand what is normally developmentally appropriate. If your child's a teen, don't spend a lot of time worrying about their moody behavior. That's part of the package. If your child is younger and they are having a hard time focusing, that's part of their development. So understand where they are developmentally and be a parent and be aware of the discipline and the limits you need to set on them as a good parent. Take a good parenting course. Talk to parents who are involved, get into a group, read books about parenting so that you are up to date, but keep your parenting in the forefront. Your job is not to be their friend and not to win them over and win them from the other parent, but to be their parent. And so many parents try so hard to go ahead and try to befriend their parent in the face of alienation or in the face of a resist refuse, hoping that they would be the better parent and that their child wouldn't go away. Be a parent. Children will respect you for that, and they need those limits. Schedule simple things and create new memories with your child. Is there a sports or a hobby that you can establish together? Are there rituals that you can begin so that child remembers those things as they continue on in their life? Donuts with dads on every Saturday morning, or, having special things that you do or rituals that you do in your home. It's sometimes awkward for families when two parents are together and there's this tension or there's a high conflict going on. And there's been a lot of change. If you're the parent that is no longer in the home that you shared with that other parent, or if that house was sold, the environment needs to become a home that's familiar to that child. Doesn't mean you need to spend a lot of money, but spend time with that child, creating a second home for them and establish that place that is theirs as well. and schedule things during their time with you that are simple, that are going to create new memories in this new phase of their life. That old phase is gone. That time together with both parents is gone. And that's a mourning that has to happen. But there also needs to be a recreation of the new life that's happening and the new environment that they're a part of in both homes. Stay active. For your own interest and for your child, be active in their activities at their school. Are you still on all of their reports? Are you still on their contact information? Unless there's a court order that says that you are not allowed to, which is an anomaly in most places, you are going to be joint managing conservators of that child or those children. So make sure that you are actively involved. This is very, very different. And actually being a parent in a divorced or separated or separate home from the other parent takes more work. And you need to put in that extra time to take more work. Many times there have been parents who one parent took care of all the school activities or the medical activities. That communication may not be there anymore. And so you need to make sure that you are taking an active role in all of those facets of that children's life so that you are aware of what they're doing and aware of who's at their school, who do they play with, what do they enjoy doing, who are their friends, who are the parents of their friends. Again, balancing that parenting along with being active in their lives as their parent. And making sure it's not a control issue. It's a matter of caring about that child and staying interactively involved with that child as they grow. Do your part. And this is the hardest thing to do sometimes for parents when there is some resistance from a child. Regardless of what the other parent does, do your part to be a good parent. Set an example of respect for the other parent. That is so key. We see many children who don't have an ongoing relationship with both parents, and they don't see their parents ever together. Do your part to greet the other parent in front of that child at exchanges. Share information about the children in front of the child or in front of the children. Be respectful to the other parent. I've had some students tell me and some children tell me that my other parent wouldn't talk to a dog the way they talk to my dad or to my mom. Be the parent that takes the higher road, not ignoring what's going on, but making sure that you're treating them with respect and with the grace that they deserve as another parent. You may not like that person anymore. You may not get along with them as a partner, but they are still the other parent and they deserve the respect as the other parent. Find those things that are common ground with you so that you can go ahead and be very involved with that child and basing relationships on mutual respect of that part of the child that belongs to the other parent. Each child is half parent, right? You get certain things from your mom, certain things from your dad. Learning to respect that is not only going to help that child to decrease the damage to them if one parent is actively alienating, but it's also going to allow that child to fulfill themselves as part of two parents and to take joy in that and be proud of the fact that they have two parents that they have come together with. Another thing that does, regardless of what the other parent does, there are going to be certain traits that other parent has that come out in that child. Maybe a way that a child grimaces, an attitude maybe that the child has, a way that a child verbally expresses something that reminds you of that other parent. Keep that positive influence about that child in your heart so that other child, that's the child, when they act out in a way or show signs that are similar to the other parent, you're not reacting to that other parent, but you're reacting to your child as one of your greatest gifts. So there are things that you can do that enable and help help children to move forward and to not be further alienated. Come up to the door to get your child, instead of sitting in the driveway, Do things, and these are all things that help a child to lessen their anxiety. When parents do not get along, whether it's in high conflict divorces or they've been through the divorce and there's some alienation tactics being used, the children's anxiety goes through the roof. And we see that time and time again. They're not sure what's going to happen when those parents are together. They're afraid for both parents to show up at activities because they are very wary of what's going to happen when both parents show up in the same place. Their anxiety rises, their heart rates go up. They have very much of a physical reaction to worrying about what's going on. And so showing the example, even if that other parent isn't doing it, you can make these changes and show your child that you're willing to make these changes and do these things to lessen their anxiety and put your child at peace when they're with you. So come up to the door to get your child. And if you're not able to do that because of some ongoing conflict, get out and at least come, let your child see that you are having eye contact with that other parent, that you are comfortable in that place, and that you are greeting them. It would be great if there's a neutral place that both parents get out and transition the children from one car to the next or from one place to the next. If that can happen, that's ideal. Greet the other parent in front of your child. Hi, how's it going? Or just a wave. There are times when children tell me that they have not seen their parents talk to each other in 5 years. Think of that child and what that child is going through and how stressful that is for that child. So greet them, even if it's just a nice hello. Treat them just as you would any other person, not as a person you're in a relationship other than to parent, but for your child's sake. Use basic social skills in front of the child, such as please and thank you. Again, that child is taking his cues from you about how you interact. Even if the other parent is not doing it, it's important for you to do that. Tell your child to have a good time. Wish your child a good time in front of the other parent, right? So letting them know that you support that relationship with both parents. Tell them to have a great time. Don't make comments about what's going on. Don't text your child or call your child continually during their time with the other parent. Give the other parent and that child a relationship space, just as you would want, and encourage the other parent to do the same. Most of the time, post-divorce or post-relationship, if the child has been part of a legal action, those contexts are addressed in the context of their legal paperwork, saying that certain phone calls are going to happen or electronic communication will happen during different times. But it's important you respect that and don't text them consistently or interrupt that time. It tells that child that they're not safe with the other parent and that you have to check on them. And it's constantly interrupting their undivided time with that parent, which is valuable. Have respect for that other parent and make space for that. Don't interrogate your child when the child returns to your home. Very important that you enable parents the time to have their time with the child, and the child doesn't feel like they have to report. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't talk to the other parent about, talk to the child about what's happened. If they bring it, if they initiate it, that's great. Encourage that conversation if your child needs to talk. But, encourage them if there are issues at the other home to talk directly with that parent, or to have some communication that can help that child. But don't interrogating them, asking them about who's been there, what happened there, where did they go. Let the child initiate that and keep it to a minimal. Take the time that you have with your child to focus on your relationship with that child or children. Don't use that child to communicate information back and forth between the parents. That child should not be the one that brings up the fact that the child support payment was late or that they didn't receive the medical card. That's a parental issue. That's between the parents. If you have to use a third party, such as, a parent app or a family wizard or a person, maybe the attorneys, do that, but do not use the child as the person to communicate information between the parents back and forth. And do not talk badly about the other parents in front of the child. or about the child. You may not think that your children is listening, but many times they are, and they hear things. So it's important that you speak positively about the other parent, or don't speak about the other parent. Speak about their ability to be a good parent and not badly about that child. It creates a negative feeling for that child about that part of that parent that's innately half of them. Creating ways that a child feels like he has to choose one parent over the other is very, very difficult. So make sure that your parenting time does not create those ways that your child feels like they have to choose you over the other parent. Making sure that the time that they have with the other parent is honored, just as you would want that time with you to be honored. And so making them feel comfortable in both places, and that they have value, both parents have value. And sometimes we schedule things on the other parent's time. If the other parent is agreeable to that, that's one thing. You're working together to do that. But if that doesn't happen, the child's going to have to choose between doing the activity or being with that other parent. It is definitely not something that you want to get in the habit of doing. Make sure that you are not making that child have to choose either activities or you over that other parent. Same thing with relationships with family members, making sure that you're not talking about all the great times you're going to have with your family that they may not have seen while they're with the other parent. That creates stress for that child. So make sure that you're just aware of some of these things and being sensitive to your child and the fact that they have some anxiety and are concerned about those things. Find ways to be flexible with the other parent. All right. So we all get into this game of this is my time and they need to be at a certain place at a certain time, and not allowing for flexibility, especially if you're in the midst of a litigation. Many times our job in winning a litigation is to try to figure out how that other parent is falling down on the job and not doing what they should. And looking for those things creates a lot of inflexibility. Your child needs you to be flexible. For example, say that your child is ready to go on weekend with the other parent, but that other parent is a little bit late. And so you're looking at the clock and trying to figure out how much time you have to wait before you say the visit's over. You're concerned about your child not being picked up, but maybe there was, an issue that came up. Maybe they're in the middle of traffic and can't use their phone to call because it's not safe, but they're running late. Maybe they got out of work a little bit late. So be a little flexible, knowing that what your child deserves is a relationship with both parents. And so making sure that you're flexible to allow that 15 minutes instead of holding it against them for a purpose of winning a court case and saying, again, they were late for pickup and my child was waiting, they didn't show up on time. If it's good for your child to be with that other parent, be a little flexible. Look at it from your child's point of view in terms of their needs and their development, and decrease the amount of stress and anxiety that your child is going through. Greet each other at events and activities. And I mentioned this before, not only in private places when you're having transitions, but when you go to the school and that child is part of an activity, or that child has a soccer game or a baseball game, and you're both there, your child needs to see that World War III is not going to break out. Now, it may be that that's never happened with your family, but as a child that is being forced in the middle and having to choose between parents, or feeling like they have to choose, they are going to be concerned about who they're aligned with. Let your children and your child see the two of you together. I'm not saying that you have to go up and hug that person and that you have to sit next to them, but showing them that you recognize the other person. Or if you show up at an event or an activity and it's your possessory time and the other parent shows up, go say hi to your dad, go say hi to your mom. She's here for your school event too. And then you can come back to me, letting them know it's okay to have a relationship with both parents. Share information with the other parent instead of waiting for the parent to ask that. Yes, You are probably all on Skyward. You share the same logins for, getting the children's activities. Yes, you can call the physician and get that information, but be the parent that takes the extra step for your child's sake to make sure that that information is shared, because it's beneficial to your child. It's not about what the parent gets. It's about making sure that your child has all of the things and that you as a parent are sharing that information, which is critical for the child's well-being. Remind yourself, and this takes a great deal of strength on some parents' parts, that the other parent is worthy, that they have good traits and characteristics, that there's a reason why you got involved with them to begin with, right? And that your child is a reflection of the two of you. And so remind yourself at whatever level that takes, that the parent has good traits and characteristics, and keep yourself grounded in that. Yes, there are probably a lot of negative traits that you see in your other parent that you don't like as a person, but that parent has good traits and characteristics that your child values. So for their sake, hold those things sacred. Separate the things that went badly between the both of you and the person that is your child's other parent. We don't always like the people that are the other parents for our children, but that is separate. That relationship of being with that person and having a relationship with that person is different from the person that is that parent for that other child that you share that child with. So separate those things that went badly and honor the things that are in your child and the things you do for your child to create more positive relationships with both. Ask questions of your child. Keep that critical thinking alive. If there's some mild to moderate alienation and you're trying to, keep tabs on things, keep that critical thinking alive so that child is constantly doing a truth test for themselves. Don't defend yourself, but ask questions which empower your child. They'll feel better about the outcome as well if they've come up with the answers. For example, let's just take the example of that picture. You may have a picture of you and a child posted in the family room of your house, and that child goes, "Yeah, I don't remember doing that. And I didn't ever have fun going to this ball game with you. I'm not sure why you have that picture up." Ask him, I kind of remember that blue shirt you used to wear. Get them thinking critically about that. And when they make a negative comment, ask them how they know that that's true. Was that something that you heard? Is that something that you believe? Do you remember any of that? Get them thinking from their own point of view, from their own memories, and from their own experiences, what they know is true, and keeping that critical thinking alive, as opposed to just repeating possibly what another parent or another relative has told them. Monitor the status of your case ongoing, right? With that other relationship, with that other parent. Beware of any changes that you notice. We don't know that mild and moderate will always lead to severe. We do know that there's a connection between ongoing mental health issues with one parent or possibly both parents that escalate and that always end up in severe. The research shows that severe alienation in those situations, they can look back and say, I could see little things that happened ongoing and there was no stopping it because of the mental illness that was involved or those issues with the other parent. So be aware if you notice those changes, if you notice that, balance the changes in your child with that development. Monitor those interactions and access that your child has. Is everything the same? Are you being a little too lenient and being a little too flexible? And does that need to be reeled in? Your relationship with your child is important. Don't let the other party snuff it out to the point where it goes from mild to moderate to severe. Monitor those and monitor behaviors and triggers that you're seeing. Keep aware of what those triggers are. Keep aware of what those behavioral interactions are that are indicative of parental alienation escalating. And there's lots of great information on this channel that will help you with that as well. Create a new phase for two homes. Probably the hardest thing you're going to have to do, but it's important to do. You would live in two homes now, and that's a readjustment. So readjust your relationship with that other parent. Make sure it's child-centered. Many times it's often more like a business model. There's not a whole lot of emotion left between that readjustment, between that relationship with that other parent. It's more of getting down to business and making sure that that the child-centered and child activities and the child is taken care of as best they can, and that the anxiety and the stress is lessened on that child, and making sure that the facts are out there and that there's not a whole lot of emotion in your interactions, and keep that as a readjustment always. Reassess regularly on what that relationship looks like and how that relationship with the other parent is going as a parent. And if you need to, redefine that relationship and redefine it on a number of ways, in the way that you interact and how you interact with them. In communication, are you in a place with that other parent where you can have open communication, or does that communication need to go through a third party like a parenting app because there is too much conflict? And monitor your interactions. Are you doing all that you can to promote both parents as active and viable people in that children's life or that child's life? Making sure that happens. So readjust ongoing, reassess regularly, and redefine those relationships, both with that other parent and as your child grows through development, reassessing as they go through their teen years and into their adult years. That relationship, that communication, those interactions change, and you're going to have to move with that. That phase 2 of making that clear cut between what was in one home and what is in 2 homes has got to be thought out and be very purposeful in their interactions. So just some things that I want you to kind of pay attention to as you look at possibly early signs of interaction with your child that may be signifying mild to moderate phases of parental alienation, and taking stock of them and doing what you can to decrease the amount of stress, serve as a parent that child can depend on as consistent parent that is keeping their best interest at heart. Your child will remember that. And then reassessing if there is a move towards more severe, that you're very aware of what's going on so that it doesn't escalate without you knowing, or waiting till it gets to the point of being a severe alienation before you take steps and really notice and name it for what it is. Thank you very much.
Next week's episode features Dr. Colleen Murray speaking with Claudia Obias and Dimitri Shvets regarding equal shared parenting in the military.